Hello students, this is me Saurav Baroi. I am making this recording for the students of class 5 for the subject of social science. This video is in continuation of the video that is on social science for the chapter of natural vegetation and wildlife from geography. In this particular video, we will study about the forests in India, then conservation of forests, wildlife, conservation of wildlife, and there are different steps that are taken for the conservation of wildlife. So let's start. First, from here, let me turn the mode to landscape mode. Okay, you can also switch to this landscape mode for better viewing of the video. So let's start from here, the forests in India. In 2018, India had around 20% of its total area under forest cover according to the Forest Survey of India. Very dense forest cover of 1.6% of this area. Moderately dense forest cover is how much? Around 10.2%, and open forest or bus land that covered around 8.82% of this area, that is this 20%. Now, among all the states of India, Madhya Pradesh has the largest area under forest cover, around 11% of India's cover. Then Arunachal Pradesh is the next one that has around 10%. Chhattisgarh, the third one, that is 8.25. Odisha, the next, that is 7.15, and Maharashtra as 7.01. Forest area has been decreasing in India as a result of mainly the land cleared for farming, then flooding for irrigation and hydroelectric projects, expansion of urban areas, industries, roads, power lines, etc. So as the area under forest cover has been decreasing, there are certain steps that has been taken by the government in order to conserve the forests, because the forests are an essential part for the maintenance of the ecological balance. So to protect forest, the government has declared many forests as reserved or protected forests. Protected and reserved forests are actually owned by the government, and all the rules and regulations that are framed by the government as to whether to allow the people to enter these forests or use its products. The main difference, students, between the reserved forests and the protected forests is that is the related to the activities like hunting and grazing. I mean, whether they are allowed or not. So, in reserved forests, the rights to all activities like hunting and grazing are banned unless specific orders are issued by the government. Whereas in protected forests, rights to all activities like hunting and grazing are allowed unless specific orders are issued. Thus, reserved forests enjoy greater protection than protected forests. Next portion, apart from the forest, we have also the wildlife that are important for the maintenance of ecological balance. Wildlife, as we have already learnt about it, that it all includes all the non-domesticated animals that are found in a particular area. It comprises of all the types of animals like mammals, reptiles, amphibians, birds and insects. Wildlife is an important resource because animals maintain the ecological balance in nature, and humans hunt wildlife for meat and hide. In a definite food chain in the ecosystem, herbivores feed on producers, carnivores feed on the herbivores, and the omnivores feed on both producers and consumers. When the omnivores and carnivores die, their remains get mixed into the earth and provide food for the plants. Thus, the cycle is complete. This means that the producers, that is the plants are getting eaten by getting eaten by the herbivores, and these herbivores are being eaten by the carnivores, and once these carnivores die, they get mixed with the soil and provide nutrition to this plant. So this cycle is complete. These are the producers, those who produce the food. These producers, that is the grass, the trees, these are consumed by the herbivores. Then these herbivores are actually consumed by the carnivores. In many cases the carnivores are also consumed by different carnivores, but when these carnivores die, they get mixed with the soil, and this, after mixing with the soil, these carnivores, they provide nutrition to these particular producers. So this cycle is complete in this particular manner. So this is known as a food chain or nutrition cycle. Next, about conservation of wildlife. Over the years, there has been a significant degradation and depletion of wildlife all over the world. What are responsible for this? Climate conditions and human interference. Now, indiscriminate felling of trees in the forest has led to the migration of several species of animals, and in many cases there are many animals who have become endangered, and some are here on the verges of extinction, because there are many animals who are hunted for their nails, teeth, horns, feathers. There is a growing illegal market of these things, these horns, feathers of the animals. The indiscriminate mining, deforestation, soil erosion, constructional activities, forest fires, failures of rains, earthquakes, tsunami, and landslides are some of the man-made and natural factors that has led to the extinction of wildlife. Under such circumstances, there is an urgent need to protect the wildlife. For this purpose, there are many national parks, wildlife sanctuaries, and biosphere reserves are made to protect the natural vegetation and wildlife therein. What is a national park? A national park is generally a large area of land preserved in its natural state as public property, that is a property of the government, and there are laws that protect the wildlife in the park. Next is wildlife sanctuary. It is a vast area set aside by the state to protect characteristic wildlife, especially migratory bird communities, or protect threatened animals or plant species. All form of hunting, killing, or capturing of wildlife are prohibited except for scientific research authorized by the government. Next is biosphere reserve. Biosphere reserve are specially protected natural areas that are zoned according to the intensity of human activity. This means, student, there are different zones in the biosphere reserve. There is a core zone, then there is a buffer zone, and the last one, that is a transition zone. We will study about the characteristics of these three here. Okay. So starting with the core zone. Core zone is free from human intervention. This means no one can enter the core zone unless specified by the government. Then buffer zone serves as, it serves to protect the core zone from harmful impacts and is used only for forest research. Last, transition zone contains areas given over to traditional agricultural use and areas benchmarked for agricultural research. There is a natural balance of ecosystem. If we do not disturb the natural environment, students, there will be fewer environmental problems. Environmental problems like global warming, pollution, and all this. However, it is not possible to stop interacting with the environment unless we are here on this planet. So for that, different awareness programs have been conducted, and many schools also conduct many awareness programs so as to make familiar people with the requirement of the protection of or conservation of natural vegetation and wildlife. Many countries, they have passed in stringent laws, that is very strict laws for against killing and illegal trading of birds and animals. An international convention, CITES, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wildlife, Flora and Fauna, has been established, and it is an international agreement between the governments. It seeks to ensure the international trade in wild animal and plant species does not threaten their survival. Roughly, students, 5,000 animal species and 25,000 plant species are protected under this convention, including bears, dolphin, corals, then aloes, orchids, and cacti. It also lists several species of animals and birds whose trade is prohibited. Every citizen should consider it an ethical duty to conserve and protect plants and animals to save his or her own environment. Now, students, with this we have come to an end of this particular chapter. I would strongly advise you to go through the chapter once yourself. And I remember that I have already sent you the question and answers for this particular chapter. So as the examination is commencing from 21st of this month, I would strongly advise you to start revising those answers. Okay. In case of any doubts, feel free to ask me either in the group or in the YouTube comment section. Thank you.